Hi, everybody. You're listening to Trace Elements. We're going to be bringing Tony in just a second. Hope you guys are having a good day so far.
Hey, Tracey, can you hear me?
Can hear you now.
Okay.
Go right ahead, Tony.
Good morning, everybody. How y'all doing? I wanted to talk about China today, but over the week I was kind of guided to talk about DNA some more, which will kind of lead into what I was going to go into, well, specifically Tibet. I want to talk about the RH bloodline, the one that you very rarely hear about. I was looking into the RH blood, which stands for the rhesus monkey. So they say somehow the rhesus monkey found its way into the human gene pool, and about 40 to 45% of people in Europe have this RH blood. Now, the thing about RH blood, first of all, it strikes me, it kind of throws me off that somehow blood from a monkey makes its way into the human gene pool. So I wouldn't say this is the missing link, but I would say that there was something, this is definitely some genetic modification going on, because RH blood is so weird that if a mother has RH positive blood and she's pregnant and her baby has RH negative blood, there can be complications through the pregnancy, because the positive will look at the negative as alien, as a foreign object that is trying to invade the body. So when I started to look into this mutation, I started to dig up some things about giants and some of the other, how do I want to put this? Some of the things that we've read about in myth, because they do hold some fact. There is some truth in that, although a lot of our stories from the past have been twisted in some kind of way or form. You know, the satyrs, the minotaurs, the harpies, different things of that nature. Now, I personally feel, after some of the research that I've done on alchemy, on martial arts, and I know these two things don't seem like they're connected, but they both stem back to Africa, to Al-Kabilan, to Kemet, which is ancient Egypt. I'll just use the word ancient as a reference, but not so long ago Egypt, because I don't feel like it was that long ago, because Egypt was not introduced to Americans until the early 1900s. Like I believe it was like 1916, between 1916 and 1922, I believe. And we'll have to do like a whole show just on that, because that's crazy how everything was whitewashed, and they changed a lot of things. So when I'm looking at just these two things, alchemy and martial arts, how they were both combined by peoples in those areas back then, let's just take a look at some of the martial arts that use or that mimic animal movements in nature, like tiger style, like dragon style. Obviously, somebody knew something about dragons back then that they could mimic their fighting techniques. You know, crane style. Are these people going out in nature and studying animals just to create a new form of martial arts, or, and I'm linking this with Native American legend because there's legends all around the world of people shapeshifting. One of the first books that I've read when I was a child on psychic development talked about that very thing, how if you change the frequency of your aura, you can alter perception, and also you can change your physical appearance. And it talked about this is to a certain degree how Native Americans achieve shapeshifting. So then you look at the cases, you look at the individuals in Egypt that were half man, half animal. Now, do I believe that these beings were gods? No. Do I believe that they could have been extra dimensional beings? Possibly. But then there's also this possibility that these beings were just highly advanced humans who had more control over their physical body and had higher brain functions, that they could shapeshift and develop fighting techniques that were just out of this world and use them in combination with magic, with alchemy, with the energy of the land. So when I'm looking at this and I'm looking at cases of, I'll just say the American government, because I can't really speak on anybody else's government right now, because I live in America and I know more about my government than other people's government. So when I look at the things that the American government has been prodding into, some of the cases of giants in caves or different excavation sites, and these sites become inaccessible, become restricted by normal citizens, so to speak, by the public. And I would guess that in part this is why a lot of the sites, a lot of the so-called ancient sites from around the world are being denied to the public. So some of the things that I've seen them do, like the war in Iraq, the war against Afghanistan, which led to the war in Iraq recently, us going and occupying, so to speak. Because partially part of the Afghan component was the drugs, because Muslims don't do drugs for the most part. It's against their religion. But yet 3/4 of heroin comes from Afghan. So we went over there to kind of bully them into continue our drugs because, hey, Americans need their oxy and stuff. But the other part of that was, and there's been several accounts from army officials to Iraqi citizens that their museum was raided and a lot of their artifacts were stolen, particularly artifacts dealing with giants. And these people were supposedly dressed like some James Bond kind of villains. Imagine if you've seen Raiders of the Lost Ark, the Nazis in the suits with the fedoras, like those kind of guys dressed like that. Yeah, nothing suspicious about that. Some of the other sites around the world that have been tagged by American research. And then I see these Ancestry.com commercials, and now they have I believe the new one is 23andMe, where they send you some kind of DNA kit, and basically it finds all your genetic markers, and it tells you in detail what kind of diet you should have, what kind of fitness plan you should be on, your genetic lineage. I mean, this thing goes pretty in depth. And, it's like this and that cash for gold thing have been popping up over the past decade or so in numbers. And I feel like the two are linked together. Definitely the thing that scares me the most are these DNA tests, because they're going somewhere. And I don't know if anybody listening is aware, but any blood that is donated that is not used is sent to the government. Any semen or any eggs that are donated, that are collected for the use of artificial insemination. Like, say a couple who's married goes to get artificially inseminated, and somewhere in the process before the woman is either inseminated or what have you, if they get a divorce, legally both parties is denied the egg that is fertilized. So that egg would be sent to the government for research. So they have plenty of material, of our genetic material, to do all kinds of different experiments with. So the interest with these giants and these ancient sites have to deal with them building a super soldier army, or attempting to. I don't know if I should say attempting to, because some of the materials that I've come across have said that it was described to as Fido, but it was a humanoid being who could, because everybody's blood has a different frequency. Naturally, if you could, or if you worked at it, you could see these frequencies. Well, this individual known as Fido can sniff out and can actually see these frequencies and can track people, specific people, by these frequencies. So he's basically tracking your orgone energy, your aura frequency, what makes you, you. Now, I know something like that exists for a fact, that ability exists, because I've experienced that for a long time, being able to, and it's weird. The easiest way for me to explain it is that when I look at somebody, I can see their genetic background. And if I see other people, whether they're famous or what have you, it could be on TV, it can be in person. I can see how connected we are. But specifically, I can see how throughout time families kind of split off. So you have, like, say you have a family from Europe that comes over here named the Smithsons, and they drop their son part and just leave the Smith. And you have two brothers that go in two different parts of the country and have no contact with each other, and they just kind of branch off. And then you have cousins and uncles here and there. And then over time, you have the same bloodline, but two different parts of the country, and they don't know about each other because they've lost contact over time. I can see those connections. That's the best way I can explain it. So when I came across this, it resonated with me. That this Ancestry.com, this 23andMe, this rating of ancient burial sites to find God knows what and try to bring it back to life. Because remember, they were talking about not so long ago when they found that there was DNA on the Shroud of Turin that they wanted to clone, that they could clone it and make a copy of Jesus. Now, me personally, and this was, I believe, I was in, this was like 97. So I was in high school. I want to say I was in like 9th or 10th grade, maybe, or 99, I should say. I believe it was 99 when they said this, or 98. But anyway, when I was in school and they were talking about this, I thought, if they make a clone of Jesus and they bring this thing to life, they will program it. And this is just my thinking back then in high school. They would clone this thing and they would program it to be the Antichrist. They probably wouldn't even have to do that much if this thing was legit. But just the fact that they would talk about doing something like that, that lets you know that they have at least attempted, if not achieved, that. The cloning with the sheep, that was just a test run when they was cloning those animals. They probably have been cloning humans and doing other genetic experiments, genetic modifications, things like that for decades. Because you got to realize that when it's brought to the public domain, like cell phones, the government probably had cell phones back when the public had a giant computer that took up the room, or probably longer than that. Oh, yes, please. You can step in anytime.
Hi, everybody. Hey, Tony. I wanted to bring up something because you and I had talked about this before. Remember that TV series called Dig?
Yes, yes.
Specifically talking about cloning. Jesus. There's also a really good one, Brazilian TV show. It was around October 1st, 2001 to 2002, called Zero Clone. And then we have the whole Orphan Black series, who kind of sneakily showed her mom as black, saying that this is a possibility. Now I realize this is just TV, so this is Hollywood and the Hollywood and all that kind of stuff, but we have boys from Brazil, and we have many scientists that say not only could they do this, they have done it, and back from the 50s, because they found the DNA sequences, started working on it in the 40s. So, yeah, they would bring back something and would train it to do exactly what it says. And what you said about frequency, we know for a fact that they can mechanically find you with your frequency. We've talked about this in the AI kind of tech. So all the tech that they use right now is what we could do naturally. It's things that happen on Earth naturally that they have made into a mechanism. So going from, instead of using our eyes, we have cameras kind of thing. So they use tech that we have naturally in our body. And unfortunately, if they have a chance to use it against us, they do. So, yeah, I'm with you. Absolutely, they would bring the stuff back. And now they can make children with 3 parents instead of 2. And it sounds like science fiction, but they've done it.
I put it like this: if the public has access to designer kits where we can pick what our children will look like, eye color, hair color, things like that, think about what the government has. When they put out these shows like Future Weapons, where I can't remember the guy's name, I think his name was Mac or something like that, but he would demonstrate some of the technology that today's infantry and army and air force, armed forces are using. You know, different drones, different grenade launchers, different body armor and things like that, guns that shoot around the corner. When they're showing this, they've had that for at least 50 years. That's old news. Now they probably did not issue it to just your average infantryman, but they are probably using it for black ops. Because they're not going to be like, hey, this is that new advanced stuff that we have now. Put that on TV and let the enemy country look at that like, they've got that. Let's start developing that. No. Just like the UFOs, they had been doing that back before World War II. And they just released that I think it was Discovery Channel, where they were talking about the United States had UFOs that they had been developing since World War II from the Nazi scientists. And they actually showed a UFO with a United States Air Force sticker, and they parked that thing in a hangar and said that I believe it runs between 188,000 miles to 300 and something thousand, 100,000 miles an hour, and could circle around the galaxy or something like that. So when they release this kind of knowledge to the public domain, you can bet that they're at least, this is a lowball figure, at least 50 years. But honestly, the highest, or the most that I've heard the government, the United States government at least, and I wouldn't put it past other governments like Russia, but I've heard that they're at least 500 years ahead of us as far as what the public has access to.
That wouldn't surprise me.
That would not.
Wouldn't.
No. Because they want to keep us dumb. They want to keep us in just enough of a robotic state that we can function and continue to provide them with resources and energy. Because they need slaves, and they need your prayers. They need you to pray to their gods so they can continue to feed off your energy, off your essence. Oh, and fear too. You know, they gotta throw in the terrorists and these plots and the scary diseases that are going to kill you that you never heard of, but have been around for so long, quote unquote. You know, there's some funky genetic stuff going on. Whether you look at the RH blood, or the fact that, you know, I have to get esoteric with this, because you can't just look at it from a scientific standpoint, because that is why certain science will never advance, because they're doing it without a spiritual component. You have to, everything's connected. You don't just build a machine and say it's going to do something. Like, okay, for example, you can't just build a nuclear bomb and just detonate it anywhere you want at any time. Like, there's science behind that, but there's alignments that you have to consider. You have to consider the grid that is set up, which we have to do a show on that, because the grid alone, these man-made structures that have stood time, I think that's a component in all this as well.
It really is, because the oldest stuff, and we keep unearthing it, surprisingly, that it stands. Our stuff breaks down. 100 years, you don't touch it, it's mush. And the animals have taken over. You know, we're sitting at a point now where I think most people are getting that we have been lied to so much. Our bodies, how we're made up physically, this physical ship that we ride, that's how I look at the human body, has things in it they still can't describe or define, really. There are things in us that look like a combination of plant and animal. We have things that set off frequencies that they're just saying, yeah, that's weird. They came out with this new thing about sperm, believe it or not, that we were told that the men only give a certain amount in DNA. It's mostly to the boys. It's a direct copy. That's not true. That's not true. What men have, and Tony and I, he'll get this, you guys will get this. this is the fire element. This is the male. This is the line, basically, the straight line that goes back to the beginning, the one, the first of us. When they show us images of the shape-shifting ancestors, and that's everywhere in the world. That's everywhere. Whoever you are, wherever you think you're from, you have this in your myths. And all the myths are based on something that we knew that we could transform. The giants, well, we know that there was a time on Earth everything was giant. I've done whole shows saying, okay, this is a worm now. This is what we have as a worm 10,000 years ago. And things are huge. Now, of course, a lot of the images we see, the newer, but I use that word fancifully, I guess, that when art is paid for by kings, when they're paid for by kings, kings are always huge. They are the giants. But we know, DNA-wise, we still have 7-foot guys and women on this planet now. They're never kings. They are never kings. The real genetic traits of our giantness is from us, not these cross-dressing pedophiles. But it's a story, you know, they take the soul out of it. Soldiers. The base is the word soul. So you know that men were meant to do something different. This fire element. When we look at tech, how we use mechanical things to do what is organic. I'm not talking about the matrix here. I'm talking about the organic matrix, which we are a part of. We know for a fact now that even blue eyes didn't happen until maybe 6,000 years ago. But it happened everywhere across this planet. We adapt. One of the best things about us is when there's a problem, we find a way to get through that problem, to fix that problem. But in ancient times, even up to 6,000 years ago, I think, well, as a matter of fact, we have evidence that it's only 400 years ago that our people were strong enough on this planet to do these things. We have the Asenazi. I forget the exact.
No, you said it right.
Is that it? Okay, the ones in our continent here who apparently just left, built amazing things that look like amazing things built in China, that look like amazing things that we're just finding built in Europe, amazing things built in Africa. The same, though, a very similar thing. These are not different people, and I realize, and it's something that you all have probably noticed really bugs me when we say there's an alien came down and taught us this. No, we needed that knowledge, and it came to us. And it's not that long ago that we just could do this. We needed to change, we changed. We weren't getting the light we needed, we got lighter skin. We moved north, or we got darker skin and moved further south. We decided we needed whatever it was. These ancient buildings that seem to all have the same writing, very similar writing. Maybe not exact. It's like you were saying with language. Language is fluid. We feel the vibrations of the planet, feel the vibrations of each other, feel the vibrations of the exact spot we live in. And our language changed. Look at England. Look at London, England. Block to block to block, there's a little bit of a different accent. Some of which, and I thought I know English. I'm listening to these people and I'm like, what did he just say? So know that we still have this power. We, of course, our language has been mutated. It's been changed, so we look at things a certain way. They've done everything they can to make us forget that thing about ourselves. But they can't change it because all of the different accents in one city proves that to me. Proves it. We may not speak our original language. Who knows what that is? I can't, myself, I don't think it was something we had to speak out loud.
No, I think it was like telepathy.
Yeah, if we spoke, it was probably to sing. Because we love that.
Or to move things.
Or to move things. Our powers, we still have them.
They're still being used on this planet now. I don't know if you've heard of the Tibetan monks moving. They form a half circle, and then the main priest sits in the middle, and they all do that Om meditation, and they'll focus their sound on a boulder. They've actually been documented to be able to lift a boulder that's over a ton and move that with just their sound.
You know, Wanderer brought up something really interesting. You know, that a black couple just gave birth to a baby who is fair. We would call him fair.
Mm-hmm.
In my family, okay, my sister who looks so much like me, it's hilarious, and we have different mothers. She is all the things I am, plus her mother, who is French and Micmac. Her husband is pretty much French and Micmac as well. Both dark-eyed, both dark-haired. Everyone in their family are those things. This beautiful baby is blonde, blue-eyed, but facial features, we don't have to question that. That is obviously our family. But another golden child, myself, my heritage, which is so mixed, and both of even my mom would be called swarthy, I guess, but, she's dark-haired, her eyes are actually green. When she's pissed off, they're really green. They're hazel. Dad, of course, presents as black. Me, I was blonde until I was 7. Blonde, I mean not just blonde, I mean white-haired. My hair was white, see-through, colorless. My skin was golden. It changed. I got darker. My skin is still very fair for anyone in either side of the family, as far as I can look back. Although I have features of all of them. You could tell who my family is, and they say, you look like this cousin or that aunt or that great uncle. But when I'm in a room with one group of my family, 100% I'm from them. So we are seeing this more and more. We are seeing the official blending, I guess. We are becoming what we need to, because 2016, let me tell you, I know people thought 2015 was kind of dark, but it was powerful. And we have gone up quantum. It's huge, the changes that we've experienced right now. A lot of the men especially that carry the ancient in them, they're the musicians, they're the entertainers, they would have been the shaman, the prophets, the shapeshifters, have passed away, and we're not even through January yet.
I know, right?
And in Palestine, they just kind of blasted 100 trees, killed, interestingly enough, 144 people. But the trees, they don't talk about the trees. These are ancient trees. These are the old ones. These are the ancestors. And in South America, they chopped down the third oldest tree on the planet. On the planet. So we are feeling the changes, but know that you can't kill a tree. You can chop it, but it has roots that connect to everything. And let me tell you, those roots that we know connect on a Wi-Fi basis. So that's, again, organic to mechanical. They connect on an organic basis. They spread out. They would have sent a signal to make every tree on this planet hear it and change. You can't kill a tree. You can't kill us. Not really.
Tracey, right there, you just said that trees run on their own Wi-Fi. They run on the organic Wi-Fi. The Wi-Fi that we mechanically use, and we talked about this, it feels like it's like, I'm gonna just come out and say it feels like how like demons or what people will call demons and angels, how they communicate. Like you're piggybacking off of that. Like the certain frequencies that we use, like the microwaves and the radio waves and things like that. Some of them I feel are natural, but the way that they harness them is not.
No. Exactly.
It turns it into something else. It pollutes it.
Yes. It distorts the reality just enough. Like what I've called the little sidestep. So that part of you knows, yeah, this is a thing, this is real, I can connect to it. But part of you also knows it's wrong. But we're told so much that it's the way things are, we forget that this must be a thing. You know, Hyro in the room said, you know, he was born red-haired, body hair blonde. That's my dad. He was red-haired until he was 7 and made the shift. Hair is dark, but his body hair, blonde. My body hair is still blonde. It's hilarious. If I get enough sun, my skin gets really dark, but even my eyelashes turn, which, you know, I look really weird. Awesome, but weird.
Yeah, it's funny to watch the transformations we make from a baby to adult. Because I swear, when I was a toddler, I looked like a little Puerto Rican baby. Like my hair was straight, and it was like that kind of soft, straight, like your typical kind of like Mexican hair, or
that ancient phi, the straight, the black.
Yeah, or like the Indians, the Dravidian, yeah, from the Middle East, like how their hair is. My hair looked like that, but it had that. Like people thought I was Puerto Rican when I was a kid. But then as I got older, I started to I kind of went through like this phase where like I was like kind of Puerto Rican-y, and then I went kind of light, and then I went to the skin tone that I'm at now.
I do that. It was funny. I was talking to my mom yesterday, who is hilarious. I have to get my mom to call in one day. You will laugh how much we sound the same, but she's just funny. She goes, I would watch the seasons change by the stripes on your arm. And I'm like, what? Because as my shirt sleeves got shorter, I'd have lines on my arm all the way up. And she said by the end of the year, she goes, you were African by the end of the summer. She goes, and then I would watch the seasons change on your arm. It was hilarious.
It's so weird.
Yeah.
Because I have this line that goes like straight down my chest to my abdomen. And it's really like, it looks like it's symmetrical right down the middle. And one side is like a shade or half a shade darker than the other side. Mm. And it's been like that since I was a kid.
I am odd. My eyes change color. I have pictures of it. They go from a golden brown to, it looks like I'm one of those black-eyed children.
Yes.
I do. They go black. My mom's, with her hazel eyes, sometimes are really, really green. And sometimes they're a golden brown. We in this lifetime, within days and hours, we're told there's the 12, the major 12, the ancestors, the planets rule us. But, some of the ancient cultures said like every hour there is a different element that's in charge.
Mm-hmm.
And if we knew those hours, those times, what we should be doing every time of the day, every hour of the day, as the sun rises, as the sun sets, as the night ones take over, and they're all just as important, and we shift. This is our wonderful power. We are still the shapeshifters. This isn't ancient. It's now. We still have this. And I think we a little bit know it.
I know I could definitely feel it. And I could see it in a lot of people.
Me too. Me too. I am drawn to family. I can't explain it. I can't define it really. But I know when someone is family, and usually family is close. And I find out later, usually months or years later, that, some ancient line crossed there. Like with Two Dog. I told him from the beginning, you're Mohawk. He goes, no, Tracey, I'm not. I'm like, and yet, you are. Do not contradict me. Damn it.
I remember that too.
But I knew it. And now I've been proven right, and I have to say, I was right. Na. Boop. Don't question me on my authority. There are very few things I know, but I know family.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even have to see you. I can feel it. And I know for a fact, everyone listening to us right now, we are family. And if we went far enough back, we could find it. I know it. You wouldn't listen to me if I wasn't. Why would you listen to me? I piss people off on a friggin' minutely basis. Don't even care. Because if you're listening, you want to hear this. You want to.
You know that what you've been taught so far, what you've heard so far is not accurate. That there's more to it. You know.
We are one freaking family, but some of us are absolutely closer to others. We are. And I realize so many people right now are looking to their alien ancestors, which is fine, and I understand it, because a lot of us look around this earth and think, there's no friggin' way I'm a part of these people. I even said a couple months ago, I'm going to put a sign up saying, I am not with these a-holes. When the mothership returns, I want them to know I am not with these a-holes. But the unfortunate part is that is not true. I absolutely am with all of these a-holes. Family or not. Family doesn't always get along.
No, you got the crazy ones in the family.
Family fights worse than strangers. Love is more dangerous than hate. We know this. If you love someone, you will go full on dark star to protect them.
And what happens when that love is taken away from you?
Freakazoid. Absolute freakazoid. You know, I sound all this soft and gentle. Touch my boy. Look like you're going to touch my boy. And, you know, I was raised an only child, so I don't share my stuff. And everything is my stuff. Yeah, I'm that bad. So I will lose every piece of my freaking mind if someone I love, just like, don't even talk about them. As a matter of fact, don't even look at them funny, because I believe that. And why would we still have this saying in every language on the planet? It's not what you said, it's how you said it.
Or even saying it with your eyes.
Yeah. Oh, look. That's the fastest friggin' hour ever.
That was fast.
Okay, we're going to be right back, and hang out with us. Welcome back, everyone. You're listening to Trace Elements live today with Tony King and myself, Tracey. I wanted to tell you that on Revolution Radio, we're a little bit behind this month, so if you can help out, it'd be awesome. Myself, I could use a little bit of support. You guys are always great with me. I need to buy some stuff. Not pretty shoes this time, but there's some things I need. If you can help me out, it'd be awesome. Welcome back, Tony.
Welcome back, Tracey. Welcome back, everybody.
You know, I think what's important, and maybe I don't say it enough, remember this. And this is recent, so we can all remember it. After 9/11, before we really started to look in it, and we as all the people, someone I know from a place where he has experienced what he called racism his whole life, dark-skinned man, said he was in, I think it was Chicago, and all of a sudden, he's sitting there on a bus, and this Muslim guy came in. All of a sudden, 4 of the people walked over to him, and they're all, one was light-skinned, another one was native. They were all a group of 6 men, different physical-looking attributes, put it that way. And they're all like, okay, brother, what's going to happen if, he starts some shit? All of a sudden, all that racism fell away. Like Two Doc says, it's time for we to tribe up. We immediately tribe up. We think there's a bad guy. All of a sudden, we forget everything that's happened in our life, and we remember the basics. We remember it kind of in the wrong way, because I'm still not convinced it was a friggin' guy with a box cutter or anything like that. But know that we can. That's still in us. We can forget everything about that crap and all the crap that's happened to us in our lives, in our families' lives, in a hot minute, and tribe up when we want to. We still have that power. And I'm sure everyone who's listening right now have heard stories like that, where we just drop all that away like it's never happened, and we're family again.
And it doesn't necessarily have to be the same race.
It absolutely.
It's community.
It's community. Where all of a sudden, let's kick that a-hole's butt. And unfortunately, they know that about us, the controllers. But they also didn't want us to be fighting together for too long as a family because, that's not going to go well. Because suddenly we're at one point going to look at them and went, wait a minute. It's not those guys. It's these guys. Really rich, from all shades of skin, who have been using us. And we still know that on a deep, deep level.
Racism was always meant to disconnect us.
Yeah. We're still the shapeshifters. We are. We may not know it. We may just be grasping at it. But we absolutely could shapeshift in a second. I bet you if they tested those men after, their DNA changed. And it started to suddenly look different or look similar. I bet you. No one's done those tests that I know of, but they should have.
Oh, Tracey, I could give you a list of tests that they should do that they probably have done behind closed doors, but they'll never admit to.
Give me a list. I love lists.
Oh, let's see. Different frequencies dealing with binary audio. Just the list of the different frequencies and what they correlate to doing, from addiction to cell regeneration, to psychokinesis, to generating at the same frequency as the sun. So if you generate at the same frequency as the sun, I would imagine that you could generate a lot of heat and gravitational force. There are also frequencies that you can entrain your mind to that will allow you to time travel, rather that be physically or mentally. Like, there are two ways to time travel. You can do it mentally. You can time travel, astral project your consciousness through time. Or if you could achieve that physically, and I have read instances, not where they were controlled, but people are, say, around a mid-Victorian house that's huge, that's been around for centuries, and they're walking through the woods, and all of a sudden they appear in 1800. And they see people with different clothings, and then all of a sudden they're back.
Yes, 100%. And even on like a basic level. Because I want everyone to know that it's not far out. We know people who live in the past. We know them that are usually going through a traumatic event. Trauma is easy to grab onto. And they're living there. They're not living now. They're living in the past. There are all kinds of people living in the past. On Tuesday, when I was talking about a whole bunch of things and with Tudok, and I'm going to say this, and I know I'm going to get hate mail from it, and that's fine. Get mad at me. Natives are angry. Natives on this continent are angry. They're angry. Okay? And they're angry to a point that a lot of them can't even talk to each other. So, when they describe certain goings-on in a negative way, and I was just reading them, I don't feel it myself. I don't feel it because it's far away. I'm not connected. They're going to be angry. But, it would take a second to change the anger. It would, because I know people can suddenly not be angry. But I also know that people live in the past. We look at that. That's not time travel, Trace. What is it then? And I bet you their DNA a little bit looks like that traumatic event. And it didn't have to be in their DNA. They didn't have to have lived through it. Because sometimes I go like that too. I feel some things so deeply like I was there at the event. And I wasn't there. And I have to look into to find out if someone physically from my family was there. And I usually find out, yes, they were. That we carry things.
Genetically.
We carry them on probably a frequency that can be seen and probably a frequency that's being messed with right now. That makes you go back there. Hold you prisoner there. This is the matrix. That's the matrix. They can hold you in a spot that you don't exist in, that you never existed in, and hold you there.
I think it's something that they're doing with our orgone energy that's keeping us locked here.
Keeping us locked. And this goes back to the Prussian
physically
control that was done here. This is Freud. Freud, who first studied the orgone energy and then later had to change his tune because they said, okay, now you need to look at somebody wants to screw their mom or their father or something sick. But first, what he first looked into is the orgone, the orgasm, our energy of passion, which by we create. And unfortunately, and there I saw the ladder going up and down, it goes both ways. It could be something really high or something really low. And the ones in control are on a pretty low level, but they want to take us lower and keep us trapped there in a prison. Trapped in our bodies and have our bodies work as an energy source to store something horrific, negative. That's why people can be angry forever and not even know why.
But see, people need to learn how to focus that anger, though.
Please continue.
Because you can use anger constructively.
Mm-hmm.
You can use that anger that you have to break your programming, to motivate you. And I'm going to tell you, everybody should be angry. Natives and blacks on Canada and the American continents should be angry because we were all different tribes that were originally here. And we were told that we were brought here on slave ships, when in actuality there was probably maybe like 20 slaves brought from Africa, and what was brought over was cotton. So our people on these continents were already fractured and told that we were different people. White people should be angry, and I'm talking about the white people who are the working class white people that do the 9 to 5
and that's
type of white people. Because guess what? You're a slave too. Because you're in the same boat. You're getting somebody else rich. You should be mad because when they brought y'all over on boats, you guys were experiments. You guys were the outcasts, and you guys were the poor people who were trying to make a life, and you guys were the test subjects to see if the voyage would make it. And the first couple of voyages didn't make it. And then what was going on in Europe, that's a whole nother show.
You know, what do you do to people you don't like if you have control? And this brings back Brother Grimm. You send them far, far away. Our European brothers and sisters had been through torture, horrific, monumental, like screw your DNA up torture for a long, long time. And yes, the newer people coming.
Because you guys, the ones that, like the Pilgrims, they were not the same as the Vikings. The Vikings came over here just fine.
Some of them.
For the most part.
Some of their
but they were more warriors though. They were more of a warrior class, so they could withstand that kind of stuff.
They were very tribal. They, for the most part, you can find their settlements all through North America and South America, by the way. There are images of people who are definitely not African or Indian. You can see them. They don't want us to know that, this is our brother from, like...
what they call the Nordic features.
Yeah. This is our brother from over there, far, far away. And we kept them. As a matter of fact, native tribes, many of them, elected some of these travelers as chiefs. We have little islands off of Canada and the United States that have mysterious people with blue eyes. We have mysterious people who look African. We have, in the Micmac, the east coast of Canada has this legend of this giant who came here following the Red Star, who taught them building. Later comes to find out, recently for me, that there was this 7'4" general in the Chinese army who was sent out and came here because their manuscripts still said he came here, built a settlement. They're looking at it right now in Canada and arguing about it because, of course, that can't be possible, except when you talk to the Micmac people who still don't really understand this legend was because you met a really tall guy with the red flag of China who came freaking over here and taught you some stuff. And he came in a boat that looked like an ark because these boats, there were 8 of them sent out that had farms in them that were growing agriculture in them. It was like pretty badass considering we're told we weren't badass until recently. No, we were badass. Us people all over. We have myths in Ireland of Native people who came over. And we found out that actually some people from the Arctic did go over to Ireland in a freaking canoe. Badass. I wouldn't want to make that crossing.
No, we were badass back in the day, and not that long ago.
We were badass. Yeah. And they came back here. And we kept them. Because they were pretty. I'm sorry, but they had to be pretty because it was the women who spoke up for them. So,
I mean, have you seen some of the sculptures of women back in the days, how they had the hips and that thickness to them?
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Enough said.
Yeah, and...
let me just say I love my women. I love women.
It wasn't long ago that women all over the world were the larger of the two of us. This is proven. Look at the images that are made. Here's the guy, and here's the women. She's got hips and curves. It's sudden that we're smaller.
And being thick was a status thing. Like, that let people know that you were eating well, which means that you were well off.
And, even recently, your man is a good hunter if you get some meat on your bones.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking what's going on in Canada right now. Our dollar is like down. We're going to be seeing that too because, oh my God, we're about to have a catastrophe all up in here.
Probably trying to get ready for that if they're still trying to do that Amero, because I did see that on CNN some years ago.
Maybe. Yeah, they're going to bring something out. They are not going to let the money system crash because they need to be in control.
Yeah, they need that spell paper out there.
They need the spell. They need the ISIS.
When they make it worldwide, that's when you need to be very concerned. That's why y'all need to use your anger now to break the control and do something.
Anger,
make a difference.
Anger is one of the things that make you drive your DNA to say, I am going to survive this. I don't care what it takes.
That fight or flight.
This is supposedly the dark side. No, this is the side that you need to know when to tap into. You need both, and you need to stand in the middle. That doesn't mean you need to be neither. You need to be ready at all times. Be ready. And pull up what you need. If you need to be love and light, you will know when that time comes. If you need to be full on black star darkness and let loose the wrath.
Let me get nerdy for a second, and I think a lot of the old school nerds will appreciate this.
Yep.
In the Final Fantasy games, where you can pick different jobs.
Cool.
Yeah, see, I knew.
I played those.
Oh, those are classic. I love
all of them. Play them.
In the Final Fantasy games, you were heroes, but you had different jobs that you can pick, like Bard or Black Mage or White Mage, or Ninja, but you were using your powers for good. The things that I noticed, the one that I liked the most was that you could be the White Mage, which was healing, and the Black Mage, which used chaos magic, so to speak, like fire and black holes and things like that. Hey,
I used to play Dungeons and Dragons competitively. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm full on nerd. I was chaotic neutral. I was going deep into the neutrality, but freaking out as I did it. It was awesome. Walking that line, swimming back and forth, whatever I needed to do at that moment was done. I did have spectacular losses because of this. It's kind of like the Templars.
But it's really fun to play though, that character.
Yep. You could just, you could lose, but at the end of the battle, they shook your hand.
Mm-hmm. Oh, well, that takes me back.
That was some shit.
Hey, I'll still tabletop.
Let's play again.
I got the books and everything.
I have handmade, the only girl handmade figurines that I've ever found.
Nice.
I can do that. I can go that nerdy. So, when we talk about our stories, not that I played these stories. I still play Tapple a little bit. And it's one of the things that keeps me sane, believe it or not. My ability not to use fantasy the way they've used the phantasmagoria of TV, but to throw myself into something and suddenly be it. This is, like you said, this is the Transformer. This is our old abilities that I first tapped into not knowing what I was doing. where I don't just play the character, I am the character.
And it's healthy though because it gets your mind thinking.
Frees you.
It exercises your critical skills, but it also immerses you in a world.
Exercises and exercises. It's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
What a good word.
Exactly.
They may have made a language that was, well, even Jacob Grimm said it was going to be demonic. But it also has power because of the demon Desmo thing of it. It has power, and you can know that when you exercise, you are exercising the demon, the negativity, the thing that you need to get rid of. It's perfect. It's dark, but it's also perfect if you look at it.
Oh, yeah. It's a science behind it.
There is a deep, dark freaking science. This is the Hern the Hunter. This is the Acer. That's why Acer is actually a computer. This is the Oz. This is the wizard. This is Odin. It's the same guy. Who Hern was actually a king. He's a real guy. He's good. He's the same Germanic god that we've all been taught to follow. But if we remember that we are one people, that at one point, even though our stuff has been changed so it looks like it's one thing that we all followed, it was a different thing in the day. And we can throw that all aside in a hot second if we really passionately feel we are fighting together. This is over as soon as we know we're fighting on the same side, because we are fighters. We will not go quietly into this good night. We will wrath, we will rave against the darkness. We will.
I think that's where a lot of the myths and legends stem from, is when you just get fed up with, the controllers, for example.
Yeah.
Because I don't think these battles were just happening just because we can do that. Like, hey, we can achieve these feats. Let's just go out in the world and mess some stuff up. I had to catch myself. I almost said something else.
See, I have to do that all the time. Although I'm feeling much better. Although most of Tuesday's show was, hey, look, I saw a bad word. I wouldn't say it now.
Yeah, because start thinking about some of the things that have been construed over time. And I try not to let it upset me. But, like I said, you have to use that anger constructively.
I was just said something.
Get proactive.
Rage against the darkness. Yes, that's it. We need to rage. And I'm not saying darkness the way we look at yes or no, positive or negative, male or female. It's a thing, but it's also a lie. I'm saying we don't go down without a fight. And our fight starts in this body. We know that all we have to do is a little tiny, minuscule sidestep to remember we're family. Get mad at something. Get mad and remember that all of our brothers and sisters on this planet are being pitted against each other and being attacked. And then fight. If we remember we're family, these 4 little cross-dressing mofos are done. They're done. They're over. They know it. They are now reacting from on their back, flailing at the air, because they know they've done some things that they will not be forgiven. I realize we should forgive them, and that may raise them up, but I'm not there yet. No, I think we should just kill them. I'm working on my light side. She's a little quiet right now. Tony?
You know, the reason for me getting into the Giants and the different bloodlines is because I'm seeing, not only the different resistances to diseases that each bloodline has, but
and it's so true. Look at sickle cell. It is a rage. It is a torture. But sickle cell, if you had been in Africa, would stop you from bubonic plague, stop you from almost every disease that's there. If you have sickle cell, you don't get the other things. So even our worst thing is the best thing in the right circumstance.
Now, I'm so glad that you brought that up. You said bubonic plague in Africa, which is not native to there. But during certain wars, they were using biological warfare. Even back then.
Every war. They knew this.
They just didn't. They just might not have used it in the form of a bomb.
No, but they knew if you put a stick in some poop and sent that stick out there, you're going to kill some people.
Mm-hmm. So, you start to trace the bloodlines back and their different resistances and why. Excuse me. But what perplexes me is that of all the different bloodlines, it's really O that needs to eat meat.
It's an O. That's why 1 starts with a 0. This is an O. This is the
patient 0.
This is the first. This is patient 0. Lowe's was asking me, I can't equate sickle cell. I don't know what you mean. If you go online, do a search, look at the shape of a sickled cell. This is the spear. This is the lightning from heaven. Look at it. It formed that way to defend your body against something. It did. We come over here, we don't have any of those things, so now it attacks you. Autoimmune diseases, because there is attack going on, and you're in the wrong place to fight it. Period.
Let's also remember that when you apply this knowledge to being fearful and being empowered, when you are empowered, when you are happy, when you are strong-minded, strong-bodied, when you have high spirits. And when I say high spirits, I don't mean intoxicated or inebriated. But when you have a general well-being about yourself, your frequency is going to be higher, which will in turn increase your resistances and everything else. So when they keep you in a fearful state, that's going to open you up to a lot more. Because not only does that wear down on you physically and in the forms of producing more acid in your body, which can lead to cancer running rampant, things like that, but it also wears you down spiritually through holes in your auras, which can lead to addictions and depression and things like that. So it's really important that the knowledge that you take, though it may seem overwhelming at times, meditate on it. You know, a lot of this stuff, yeah, it does seem scary that the government might have some, or quite possibly does have some kind of super soldiers that can do some Marvel Comics type things. Because that's what they want. Ultimately, that's what they want. They either want to have super soldiers that can, and I know this because I've seen the documentaries that they've kind of touched on Discovery Channel, things like that, where if humans were to go into outer space, how could they survive in extreme conditions? And they were talking about genetic modifications, and that humans would be on these arcs that could modify bodies and send them to the planets. And I mean, humanoid, but that's where it stops at it looking human. I mean, we're talking about creatures that look almost rock or plant, like mineral base, like hard rock to withstand radiation, or aquatic.
Rock, paper, scissors. Are we going to be rock? Are we going to be a tree? Are we going to be a mineral that can be smelted? That's actually the first GMO. But we have so many things in us. And it's not about good or bad. It's about using the right tool for the right job. Quoting from Star Trek. I love Scott.
Well played.
Thank you very much. High five. Yeah, this is why I love Tony. He can just keep up with the nerd in me.
I love somebody who can do that, because I'll script something in a minute.
Oh God, yeah.
I do it at work and people think I'm crazy, and only the nerd people know what I'm talking about.
Every so often I say, "Where's my nerds at?" And I get emails. We hear you.
I love it.
I will counter your attack with a full-on frontal attack, Acer card. And there's always an Acer card in any game you play. There's always, I throw the castle at you. I throw the king at you. I throw the law and order at you. Mm-hmm. Please, why does Santa have candy canes? Because he's king. He's a king. He's Oz. He's the wizard. It's awesome. It's a little bit awesome how ridiculous this language is and how you can just play with it. Take it apart. They took our souls apart and gave us a soldier who is strong. They used them and experiment on them, and they take the best from men. Even so is solder. This is the fire. This is the Vulcan. This is still Cain at the anvil. This is the power of men. That's why we need them. And they're pretty. Gotta keep those guys.
You know, it always, even before I knew about how deep the language was as a kid,
I'm just
synonyms. I'm like, synonyms? Like, why do these words exist? Why is there two, and two?
Why does it start with sin?
Right. And, you look at words like pandemonium.
Pandemonium. Pan.
Demon.
Nice. Yeah, that's not a little cryptic.
Right. So,
and these are cryptic people. These are the Crypt Keeper. This is...
Exactly. You said cryptic. I was just about to say the Crypt Keeper.
Tales from the Crypt Keeper. Little gray alien who looks like a fetus.
That's funny. I used to watch that show, and they used to be considered horror back then.
As a kid, my butt off.
Or shows like Tales from the Dark Side.
I love them.
That theme, you look at that theme as a child, that was creepy. That was creepy as heck.
It's very, very creepy. They had some good stories. They had some adepts writing them.
Mm-hmm. And that show Monsters. You remember that show?
No.
Oh, it was a show called Monsters, and like the opening thing was a family sitting on a couch, and they were all different kind of monsters, like mutated, ghost-looking, ghoul-looking, vampire one, and it was just different monster tales. It was kind of like how Twilight Zone and Tales from the Dark Side were. Those kind of episodes of just different tales of monsters and things like that. But they were really campy, but they were cool at the time, though. You look at them now, you just laugh at them.
Well, we look at what's being shown to us. Still, it's the same tales of monsters and demons and the elite as the good guys. Or, I wanted to tell you about this one thing, and because I know we were talking about DNA, and this was your theme today. There's a show about to come on. It's one of those, I want to say don't watch, but watch it. It's called the Suicide Squad, who for the last 9 months has had to have psychotherapists work with them, like in real life, like really, really.
No, I did not know that part.
Yeah.
I could see why, because if you look at Heath Ledger in the last Batman movie, I think that's the one that killed him. Mm-hmm. Because he just went, they were saying that he thought he was the Joker, like in real life.
You can't play the Joker. The Joker is like playing Jesus. You play Jesus, you lose your mind. It's true. Look at the people who have played Jesus in movies. They've all lost their minds. It's the J. Both of them are J's. That's not... It's a candy cane.
That shows you they can't even handle the programming that you're receiving.
No, they can't. They can't. It's still the candy cane. It's still the Wizard of Oz. It's still the same thing. This is why I bring it up. And there, people say, no, it's not the same. The religions aren't the same. They're kind of the same.
An illusion is an illusion.
Yeah. They have taken our myths and given us Shrek. Shrek, who actually was a French wrestler. I posted a picture of him. Looks exactly the same. They've given us Shrek. They've given us, Bambi, another child who has to watch his mother die.
That was a traumatic movie watching as a child.
Oh, my God.
I was like, what? They just showed that?
This is horror. This is grim. this is grim. These tales are old. They're about women sitting around weaving and talking about what was going on, where children were really being taken, where people were so poor they were really eating their kids.
Mm-hmm.
This is the DNA that we are dealing with now.
Hell, they had to do that on the Oregon Trail not too long ago. When they got stuck in the mountains, the Donner family, or the Donner Party.
Trail. That's what I was bringing up. And, I was reading what the Paiute Indians were saying about what's going on there. And yes, they were not nice, but what they think these people are doing there. But
let me. Can I just interrupt for a second before I forget?
Please.
You know what? Let me pull it up real quick because I want it to be accurate. But in if you look in the general history of Virginia, the fourth book, specifically page 294, between the dates of 1606 and 1625, it talks about how the Pilgrims, there was maybe only about less than a dozen who still had their sanity. The other ones had succumbed to sickness of the mind, so much that they struck an Indian and buried him, and then a couple of other ones unburied him and then cooked him. They ate him and then killed his wife and did the same thing to her. There was like a serious sickness going on.
And if we really look at that time, which you can actually find now, it was happening all over the world.
These people were not right in the mind.
No.
These people that were feeding off of flesh, they were not right in the mind. They had some kind of, I have to look at it again. I think they said what they had, but it was.
When you feed off of flesh, this happened in Africa too, still happening all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
When you feed from flesh, you go insane. And that's why McDonald's has a little bit McHuman in it. It's proven it's a McFat. That's why he looks like it.
It does.
Oh.
I always wondered why he did as a kid.
I wrote a little thing about what is it. I haven't done it yet. I have so many things I haven't done yet for you guys. I'm going to do it soon. But it can be anything. Fact. But it is a logos. A logo. An ancient being. A creation. Our ancient terror may actually be it. Videos featuring a menacing clown specifically. This is even in the mythos that Two Dog and I were telling you guys about the dog warriors, who didn't even exist until God was brought to the land here. There were no dog soldiers until God came. This is Odin, this is Cain, this is the whole thing. Your every fear, all in the deadly enemy. It can be anything. A fanged monster that won't stay on a movie screen, something ominous lurking in the basement, around the corner, under the bed, in the closet. You know what it is. I'm going to do that show. I'm going to do it soon. Something like
Please do.
it. Even looking at him, you know, this is a bad guy. I don't care if they put him like Santa Claus. I don't care if they make him a clown. I don't care. I know what the red guy is. And the red guy, the deep red guy, if we have anything connected to a wire in the house, we have a black and a red. We have the male, we have the female. We have the curve, we have the straight line. It is the basis of our two sides in our body, in our head. The thing I've had to deal with up close and friggin' personal lately because my brain has been further split to the point where one side supposedly didn't work until it suddenly did. I spent the whole night playing Bob the Builder. And I finally finished my chess machine.
Awesome.
I finished it last night. It looks like a mania.
I'm about to have you Iron Man suit soon.
Oh my God. And I feel better today. I feel better. I really do.
That's great.
It's done. It's actually done.
How do you feel when you're actually putting one of those together? Like, do you feel...
You know what I felt last night? It was like what we've talked about before, being in the zone, in the zen.
Mm-hmm.
I am not even involved in the process, it feels like. There's something else that just takes over. Oh, I also have some new pictures of 2 nights ago. What the heck came in my house? It may look like I'm being attacked by an alien. I did this weird thing that you can apparently do with your webcam, and you have to be like really messed up to friggin' even think of it, which I was, and had it set to take pictures every half hour from 12 till 4. Orbs. That's not an orb, my brother. When the orb takes its shape and walks over the couch, and the couch disappears, I'm thinking, the hell was that? I got pictures. I do have pictures. I actually have pictures. Like this.
Please share. Oh, I want to see that.
Oh, look. There's a friggin'... What is that? So, I have to tell you, this has been the most enjoyable relapse I've ever had. And my deep relapses are actually a little bit fun because part of my brain just dies. My left brain dies. So I don't judge. I have no sense of time. I'm not even I don't even feel like I feel like this floaty thing.
A part of you dies so you can be reborn.
Oh my God. It's like, again, your shape-shifting shaman thing. They're just sitting there and watching the entire world flash in between me.
Wow, that was a quick 2 hours.
We were ripped off.
That was in the zone.
Saturn sucks.
Thanks for joining us, everybody. I had a lot of fun. Thanks for joining Tracey. I'm glad that you were healthy enough to do a show today.
I feel so much better.